I probably made dozens at the start, and it took a long time before I got the first yes. I definitely have people who just straight up told me no immediately as soon as I started talking about it. And I was really bad at it. I'm a better speaker now than I was then. I'm more confident now than I was then. So I would definitely I stumbled my way through those first few conversations, and it wasn't great. And I'm not surprised I said no looking back on it. But whenever you get your first yes, even if it's over the phone, even if it's for not that much money, it really does make a big difference. And as you mentioned at the start, and Fernie already, it really does boost your confidence and it changes your mindset around what you're able to do, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I want to challenge you to remember what you goes through your mind. I mean, for all of us, it's always easy to say, "Oh, just persevere," you know, on hindsight.
Mm.
And then now, if I bring you back to the moment that before you got your first sale, what if you can remember, what made you persevere?
Persevere, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was probably this was sort of like early 2020, so this was around the time the pandemic was just starting to hit. So I think, I was in the midst of this sort of transition between being a freelance writer and then wanting to have my own kind of business. So I think on some level there was kind of a not desperation, but there's a real drive to make sure that I could generate income because I just taken this big leap to start trying to do stuff on my own terms. So I kind of had to make it work. Initially, I couldn't really just leave it and hope for the best. It had to work then, otherwise it was never going to work. But I think also, I think I just learned over time as a freelance writer, hearing no a lot to like the pitches you would have put out there for writing projects. That unless you keep going, you're never going to see any kind of success. So, I really do think that it was a combination of desperation in some ways, and I just become resistant to the no's, and I've become more resistant to no now at this point. I can no's bounce off me like bullets at this point. So, yeah, bullets off Superman, I should say.
Yeah, because I've talked to I think 7 or 8 solopreneurs before you already, and then there's this question I always ask, which I'll ask you now, is that um you know there's a very 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 thin line between, oh, I should pivot now, as
Mm,
compared to let me persevere and press on.
mm.
Now that you're an experienced solopreneur already, uh, do you think there is a very clear line between let's jump off and pivot to something versus I will stick to this for another 3 months, or then after 3 months do I continue? There's a lot of questions
Mm,
floating in the mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
think.
do you have any advice for the
Yeah,
viewers?
yeah. Well, you mentioned a good point there because you said about sticking with it for like 3 months, that kind of thing. I
Yeah.
think if you can give yourself a time frame or a certain number of repetitions or iterations or something before you give up on it, or decide if you're going to pivot, I think that's a good way to think about it because, if you just go by each individual phone call, for instance, or each individual email that you send, at any point you could decide I'm gonna give up. I've had a bad day. Something else has happened today that's put me in a bad mood. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm gonna give up. Whereas if you say I'm gonna do this 50 more times or 100 more times or for 6 more months or 12 more months, at least you can say on the bad days, well, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna keep going for this duration of time.